Hey guys, is your steering wheel a little bit off center? Do you have a little bit of a pull when you're driving on the highway? We're going to show you how to make precise, repeatable, and reversible adjustments using our mountain pass rear tow arms and the stock front tie rods. Okay, starting at the rear, we're going to check the toe. First things first, you got your toe plates. Make sure you have a helper on the other end. Get those toe plates nice and flat on the wheel and evenly spaced. These Tesla wheels are really nice actually because you can get it perfectly flat. You don't have any big spokes with it rocking around. You're not going to get any good readings if your toe plate's rocking. The next thing you need is matching tape measures. If you're using two different tape measures, don't even bother. It's not going to work. Okay, I've tried. And then the next thing you're going to do is measure the toe. If you get a bigger number in the front, that means that you have toe out. If you get a bigger number in the rear, it means you have toe in. An OEM Tesla alignment should be around 1 to 2 millimeters of total toe in the front. So when we talk about total toe, that's both sides put together. So if I said 2 mil toe in, that means 1 mil of toe in per side. All right. So I've got my helper on the other side holding everything nice and flush. I'm going to take my measurements. In the front, we have 1941. I'm talking about millimeters. In the rear, I have 1942. What that means is that we have 1 millimeter of toe in. All right, if you're still here, it means you actually want to learn how to do this. So we'll start with the basics. Our Model Y here is drifting to the right. That means we need to correct the rear toe because we have a thrust angle. It's essentially like this, or even potentially like this, and it's causing our car to go off to the shoulder. And now this is a light pull. If you let go of the steering wheel, it probably takes around 5 seconds for you to start leaving your lane. If it's something where you let go of the wheel and the car flies off the road, I suggest getting a real alignment because it's going to be too much to try to tweak with the toe arms here. You don't want to make it worse. So the first thing we're going to start with is how much should we adjust it? We should be going in 1 hex increments on our toe arms, which is roughly 1 millimeter of toe. In this case, since we had 1 mil of toe in total, we're okay to add a little more toe in on the left to fix this. And this is something you'll have to judge based on how much you got on your initial reading. All right, so we're gonna add 1 hex of toe in because we can take a little more toe. But if your total toe was perfect and we need to fix the thrust angle, it means you're gonna have to adjust them evenly. But in this case, we're just gonna add a little toe to the rear on the left, and that should get us nice and straight. Okay, here we are, got our wheel off, and we have our mountain pass toe arm. So, you can see it says extend on it. That's so we know which way we're going. And the next thing you do is you mark it. So if we get it all wrong and the car's pulling even more, we can just spin it right back to where we started and try again. So as you can see, we've marked right along that ridge there, and we've also marked both ends where it lines up. So as we know, we need to get some thrust angle out of this guy, and what we're going to do is toe in the left rear. So you can see it says extend. That means we're going to turn it to the left away from the extend arrow. We need to shorten the arm, which brings the front of the wheel in. If we were to extend the arm, it would bring the front of the wheel out, and that would be more toe out. All right, see how this closed end here is straight up and down? That's something that I see shops and customers get wrong all the time. When we're done adjusting a toe arm, we have to make sure that that closed end is straight up and down so it doesn't have any binding. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our toe adjustment 1 hex. Okay, and then we're going to bring it back so it's straight. How did we do? A little more. Okay, so we've got our line here with our original line, and it's lined up with that one. So we're all good. You need to make sure that both marks line up and the closed end is straight up and down. All right, we're all done our adjustments, tightened up and good to go. Made sure our spherical is straight up and down. We're gonna put the wheels on and torque the wheel and go for a test drive. All right, we just got back from our test drive and we nailed it. No pull, but the steering wheel's not perfectly straight. How convenient. Now we're going to show you how to adjust the front toe. All right, next we're going to talk about steering wheel alignment. For example, right now, if the car still drives nice and straight when I'm not touching the steering wheel, it's just the steering wheel alignment is off. We just need to get this guy centered. But generally, the alignment of the car is okay. Now here's something that people get confused a lot. Say we're like this and it drives straight, and then I hold it straight and the car starts turning. That's not a pull. Okay, a pull is when you're not holding the steering wheel and the car goes left or right. So we definitely want to get that sorted out and we know the difference. So right now, when we're driving, we know the rear's good, but the steering wheel was off like this. I'm exaggerating it, of course. The steering wheel was off, but the car drove straight. This means we need to correct the toe in the front to straighten the steering wheel, and it's fixed. So here's the interesting thing about the front toe. Right now, if it's like this, our wheels are straight. But if we want the steering wheel to be straight again, what we actually need to do is point the front wheels to the right, and then when they naturally straighten themselves, the steering wheel naturally straightens itself. So we can either, if our toe's good, we adjust them together. If we have some toe in or toe out, we can adjust one side at a time so we can get that steering wheel straight and we can get the total toe correct. All right, so we've got our toe plates here. Everything's nice and flush. Got my helper on the other side holding the tapes tight. We have our steering wheel straight. All right, so nice and flat. Okay, so we have 1933 in the front. We have 1927 in the rear. So if you've been paying attention, say it out loud with me. 6 mil toe out. We'll just pretend you got that right. So now we're going to take the wheels off and spin the tie rods. So we've already got a white mark here. Blue mark lined up. Okay, so we need to get our steering wheel from being off center to the right to straight. So what we're going to do is toe in the left front. And now what I mean by that is we're going to shorten the tie rod in the left front. When we shorten it, it's going to bring our wheel inwards, and then the entire assembly will straighten out when we start driving. So with the tie rod, it's not like our toe arms that say extend on it. You have to pay attention to which way you're turning it. You can either go by looking at the actual threads and figuring out which way it spins, or you can look at it like a telescope from the inside out and righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So if you're looking from this way, you're doing it wrong. You need to look from inside out and spin it clockwise. And as always, mark it before you begin, so if you do make a mistake, we can reset. The other thing you can do, just to be extra sure, is once we loosen the jam nut, you spin it out one turn, and if you notice that the jam nut got further from the outer tie rod, it means that you've extended it. And if you find that it's butted right up against it, then you've shortened it. Don't count on this because it spins independently and you could get yourself in some trouble, so make sure you do your homework and you get everything right the first time. So now we're going to loosen the jam nut and then adjust the tie rod. Okay, so we're going to spin it out. See how there's a gap here? When we shorten it, this gap should be shorter or even gone, depending on how much we're going to turn the tie rod. And now we're going to toe it in 1 hex. So you got our 14, put it on the inner tie rod, turn it 1 hex. You do need a little eyeball skill while you do this. Okay. Finger tightener and jam nut back. Okay, and then the next thing I do is, when you tighten the jam nut, sometimes the inner tie rod can turn and the outer tie rod won't. And then we end up not being aligned anymore. So what I like to do is I'll put a wrench on both of them. I'll kind of turn them together to that limit, and then I'll tighten it. All right, we're all done. We went for a test drive. Everything's straight. As long as you've got your good toe numbers in the front and the rear, it's not pulling and the steering wheel is straight, you did it. That's it. It's not magic. It's nothing crazy. You don't need a mechanic's license to figure out which way to turn some adjusters. So yeah, don't be scared. Mark everything before you begin, and if you mess it up, just reset it. And for you guys with our front upper control arms, you can use this as a guide. I get that question a lot, which way do I turn the tie rods? So there you go, and hopefully we can keep making videos to simplify and make this stuff less scary. I think everyone should get to have the fun of working on their car, and it gets easier as we go.